So let's move forward. Is that useful? Yeah, very simple. Don't overcomplicate it. Yeah, we're not reinventing complication here. So let's go through. I want to keep this, again, simple. So I've just got 7 steps to mastering my time. Essentially, it's mastering my relationship to time. And the first one, very simple. Set myself up to win. If you look on page 36 here, one of the challenges we have is our beliefs around time. What are some common beliefs about time? Shout them out. Don't have enough. As if you could go to Tesco's and buy it. What else? Say again? It runs out very quickly. Life is short. Time is money. All of this bullshit. No. Again, come back to a conceptual mind game. The 2 things we stress about most often in life are what, guys? Time and money. Where's the only place in the universe they mean anything? The mind of a human. Why? Because nothing else keeps track of either 2. You go ask an eagle what time it is. And if an eagle could speak, it would probably say, what time do you think it is, you idiot? It's now. Would it not? Meet me a week on Tuesday. Excuse me? No. We set up the whole illusion of that there is more than now, and there isn't. Now, functional psychological time is useful when we want to catch a train, when we want to schedule a meeting. But living there consistently causes delusion. You have a now. As I said yesterday, now I'm happy, now I'm happy, now I'm happy. Not I'm going to make my first million, then I'll be happy. All that does is put a big sort of happiness carrot on a stick for you to chase, because the only time you can experience it is now. Yeah, go enjoy happiness, not now. It doesn't work. So what are your beliefs? Well, here's one of mine. 7, number 1. Time serves me. Time serves me. I'm the star in my movie. This is my film. I respect everybody else is starring in their own movie. I don't need your opinion because you don't give it. Yeah, you don't care about it. You're too busy being worried about what you think somebody else thinks of you. So why should I care about, or why should I give energy to running out of time in relation to panicking about everything else? No, time serves me. Can you see the difference there? See the shift in that? What would happen if you went from thinking that you don't have enough time to the fact that time serves you? You go from being a puppet on a string to being able to take charge of how you relate to time. Ask better questions. Here is an outstanding question taken from the book, The One Thing. And it says, what is the one thing I can do such that by doing it, everything else becomes easier or unnecessary? Most of the time, as you're going to find out when we go through the plan here, most of the time we spend way too much energy, focus, resources on stuff that doesn't really matter. It's like worrying. My God. Any worriers in the room? Anyone ever worried? Worry people? All right? Don't worry, I'm not going to pick on you. All right. What is worry? I'll tell you exactly what worry is. Worrying is paying interest on a debt you don't have yet. Is it not? Most of what you worry about will never happen unless you really worry about it, and then you sort of broadcast a signal because your heart and mind are connected, and then you just attract it, and life says, I told you so. But ask better questions. What is the one thing I can do such that by doing it, everything else becomes easier and necessary? What if you'd ask that question right now? What would you write down? What's the one thing that you do or focus on right now in your business that everything else as a result of that action would either become easier or unnecessary? And it's a fabulous prioritizing question when it comes to where do I put my focus in terms of having the most results. Plan your day, your month, and your year using an effective system, not an efficient system. So many people go for efficiency. Apps are great for that. Oh, it's really efficient on being able to juggle stuff around. Or you can be very, very efficient at doing the wrong things. You can be very efficient at climbing the ladder to success, but if it's leaning against the wrong wall, I've got news for you. Yeah, you're going to waste your time. And by the time you've patted yourself on the back for how well you can climb a ladder, it's usually too late. Avoid gotta minutes. I've already spoke about that. So here's how you deal with gotta minutes. You schedule a time, and you never have meetings on a fly. Do gotta minutes crop up? Guys? Yeah, I need your energy high here, guys, because we've got some really cool stuff to go through. So do gotta minutes crop up? Yes. Absolutely. But if you know that and they're predictable, why not schedule them? So right, on Thursday, between 4 o'clock and 4:30, I am open for gotta minutes. So if you have a minute before then make it wait. Because 90% of gotta minutes can wait until it's on your terms, not the terms of the person who thinks that their agenda supersedes yours. Make sense? And I'll give you another way to be able to deal with that shortly. But never have gotta minutes on the fly. So you schedule a time. And most of the time, those gotta minutes will have resolved themselves way before 4 o'clock on a Thursday. The only reason they're there in the first place is because they thought you had a minute. And therefore, they'd rather put the monkey on your back than take the risk of being slagged off for making the wrong decision for it. Well, that's the wrong level of training. Request solutions in advance. This is one of my favorites. I use the IIR model. IIR stands for issue, impact, and recommendation. See, what I don't want is a staff member coming to me with a story. Because if there is a problem, are there problems in business? Yes. Absolutely. So, if somebody comes to me, here's the psychology behind it. If I'm taking a problem to the boss that looks like it could reflect badly on me because I dropped the ball or something's happened that I was responsible for and now the shit's hit the fan and I've got to go report it, then what I will usually do most of the time is I will generate a story and a backstory to soften the fact or shield me from that level of responsibility, called here's the excuse as to why it happened, subtext, and why it's not my fault. Anyone ever experienced that? So I don't want the story. I haven't got time to listen to somebody's story that is generated not from a place of factual information transfer, but instead from a place of please don't blame me, here's why it's not my fault. So just tell me, what is the issue? So you guys, there's the flat tire, and there's the story of the flat tire, is there not? It's like, oh no, you couldn't believe what happened to me. I was driving down the motorway and the conditions were fairly bad, and all of a sudden, boom, the car starts moving, and then I managed to swerve and get it into the hard shoulder, and I get out, and oh my God, the tire is absolutely shredded. I don't know what happened, and I go in the back, and I couldn't find a jack. It was unbelievable. And then so I'm standing at the side of the road, and it starts to rain. And then somebody comes by, and a good Samaritan finally gets out, and he's a really good guy, and we start trying to crank the nuts off, and blah, blah, blah. What really happened? He had a flat tire. Shut up. All right? You don't want the story. What's the issue? Bang. Now, once I know what the issue is, I also want to know what the impact of that issue is. I had a flat tire, made me late for the meeting. Thank you. And then what I want is a recommendation. What is your recommendation for how to deal with the impact of that issue? And why I train my staff to bring me recommendations is so that they don't get trained by default to think that I can handle everything and then throw it all back on my plate. So, what's the issue? What is the impact for that issue? And what is your recommendation? Now, does it mean that you will take that recommendation? No. But should it also mean that you turn around and say, you think we should do what? You freaking idiot. Yeah? That's not how to manage people. So, issue, impact, recommendation. Now, if the recommendation is good, outstanding. Reward the person. If it's something I would do different, because usually, in fact, 100% of the time, your staff member is not going to see the business how you see it. Just deal with that. Otherwise, they'd be running their own business. So if that's the case, then what we'll do instead is I will educate them as to why that's a great suggestion, and here's why I would probably choose something else based upon more information they probably hadn't access to. So you're training them to also think like you in situations like that. Does that make sense? Very simple model, very powerful model. Issue, impact, recommendation. Cut through the story, cut through the fluff, and train your staff to start getting resourceful and thinking for themselves about how to deal with that. Insist on a schedule for meetings and phone calls. Anybody who wants a meeting must first send their agendas and outcomes. I'm a pretty busy guy. I get a lot of requests day in, day out through the Happy to Help email with potential meetings or joint ventures or podcasts or whatever it is that people want me for. Now, I don't see any of that. I'm going to teach you how to deal yourself out of that fluff in a moment. But if somebody wants to have a meeting with me, most people have meetings to set up meetings. You familiar with that? Ever happened to anybody? Oh, let's have a meeting. And then the outcome of that meeting is we have to have another meeting to figure out what we just figured out, right? Or plan the next step. Bullshit. If you have an agenda in advance, so everybody knows going into the meeting, what is the outcome? Yeah? And it also means that if that outcome doesn't relate to you, then why the hell are you going to the meeting? And it forces people to think, not just, let's get together and discuss this. No, screw that. I haven't got time to get together and discuss squat. Put an agenda together. Let's figure out what our intention is, what our outcome is, and then we can set up a meeting and be productive while that meeting is happening. Does that make sense? Because the brain now has a target to go for, rather than sit there and sort of seesaw between left brain, what are we doing, and right brain, let's get in Wonderland and come up with some brainstorming. Now, if the outcome of the meeting is to brainstorm a particular topic, then that's okay. But unless you have an agenda in advance, do not accept meeting requests or invitations. Be proactive. Have a weekly meeting, and if things can be held until then, that's when they'll be heard. So again, it's like the Gotta Minutes. No, we have a weekly meeting. It's at 4 o'clock. So if I meet a staff member in the corridor and says, I just got a question. No, you haven't. Sorry. Not open for questions anymore. Yeah, if you want a daily Gotta Minute, great. Between 4 o'clock every day and 4:10, I will answer questions. Until then, there is a sign on my door that says, don't knock unless you're bleeding and go to emergency first. And so you're starting to design yourself into a more protected environment when it comes to you not being open to the world. Step number 2, touch it once, take action. Now, here's my first tip for you in red. Reactive email and push notifications are the death of good time management. How many people, come on, be honest, have push notifications on their phone? Some little chimey crap goes off to tell you that somebody else has got their agenda ahead of yours, right? Or like, oh no, but maybe it's a new friend. Or maybe it's this, maybe it's that. No. If you have push notifications on your phone that interrupt you every single time somebody else decides to do or say something, you are then nothing more than a puppy dog to everybody else's time management agenda. Does that make sense? All right? And they will keep doing that if you don't train them otherwise. Right? You cannot have good time management with push notifications. Sorry, guys, just the way it is. Turn it the hell off. All right? Now, again, a bit like withdrawing from the media. The first couple of days, you're going to be like, but what's going on? What's going on? What's going on? Please, let me just check my email. Jesus Christ. Most people check their email more than they check their breathing. Right? It's like you cannot be subject to somebody else. It's like putting a big sign on saying, please ring my doorbell every time you feel like it, and try to live a normal life. Now, most of the time, unless you have certainty at the top of your agenda, in which case you've got a control freak mentality, in which case you want to know everything that's going on, in which case please press my doorbell every time somebody breathes, right? Which is not a way you're ever going to grow a business. Right? And that's not a business issue. That's having the wrong need at the top issue. So unless you have get over the push notifications, you're always going to stay small. Now try it, because here's the thing. If people know that you only check your email, let's say once a day, and I know some of you are starting to shake, but if you only check your email once a day, and that is the time that you set, and that is the time you dedicate for that, just like going home and spending time with your partner, if they know that is their time, and you are 1,000% focused, then that's a quality time, not amount of time. If you spend your time going through your email between 4 and 4:30 or whatever it may be, or 2 and 2:30, whatever it may be, and that is your email time, then turn the hell off. Guess what? If it's important, it'll find you. Just like in the news, right? I know that if something is important, it'll find me. I'm certainly not going looking. Someone will tell me something that happened if it's relevant to me. And if not, it's not relevant. So, schedule a time for email. Don't falter. Send only relevant emails. How many people are good storytellers when it comes to, trying to get backstories and all sorts of stuff, and how's the kids and all the rest of it, and look, there's a white fluffy cloud and God knows what. Here's something I'm fairly particular with. My staff will know this, is request good subjects in the header and use the same. If I reply to an email, I will always change the header to make it relevant to that email. How many people reply, and then you've got meeting? And you've got a 15 different email chain with relevant information at each stage that now has the same subject line that you can't find or make sense of. So even if it's reply to your previous request, answer to your question about X, doesn't have to be a long subject line, but make the subject heading relevant to the email. A lot of the time, my subject heading is the actual message itself. It's that short and sweet, and people can see exactly what it is. And like being interviewed on camera alone, you have to repeat the question so that the audience know what you're being asked. So you state, answer to meeting on Tuesday, 9 p.m., yes. Understand? So request good subjects and do the same. Again, speed of the leader is the speed of the pack. If you don't do it, don't expect your staff to. And ideally, guys, design yourself out of the fluff. How much percentage of email, and I'm talking spam, spam's different. Spam is like unsolicited. I'm talking about email sent to you from somebody that has your email address and during the normal course of business. How much of that as a percent would be, let's call it mission critical? Any? How much? What? Ideas? Figures? 5 to 10% mission critical? At best. So why are you wasting your time with the other 90%? Here's what I do. Right now, and you're going to learn a little bit about this tomorrow in terms of outsourcing. I go and get a good virtual assistant. I pay my virtual assistant a very good virtual assistant rate of $600 a month. It's about £400. And she's full-time. And for her, that's double the wages she was getting last time. It's a good wage, and she's based out of the Philippines. Never met her. Her name's Jenny, and she's great. And Jenny handles the email account, happy to help. I don't want the happy to help email account. I don't want to know the password. I would rather put my head in an oven. So all of our email comes in to that one particular place. Jenny goes through it. Jenny handles most of those responses that are not mission critical based upon training and procedures and planning and policies that we've put in place, because 90% of it is the same kind of stuff. Now, there are certain emails that do require my attention, in which case at the end of the day, I get one email from Jenny to my very private email account that nobody but my top team members know. And at that point, I get a summary of all of the messages that she can't answer or require my actual input. And there's going to be more of them if you're training her, and there's going to be less of them as she gets good at understanding what the responses are. And then I record one voice file. I go through all of them, and I dictate whatever it is my response would be for her to then go and action. And I send back one voice file. That's 90% of my email traffic handled in 5 minutes a day. Anybody up for that? Yep. Now, you may say, well, that's okay, you have a virtual assistant. $600 a month. How much would 1 hour a day save me over a month if I'm not getting caught up in 90% fluff? Now, if you can't make more than $600 in a month with an extra hour a day, by the end of the seminar, I am going to put my head in an oven. Right, but you get the idea. It's what is your time worth, boys and girls? Right? Let's get real here. $600 a month could free you up out of most people spending all of their life getting into useless crap. Now, there's also ways of being able to handle communication chain to a point where you are bought in. So again, if somebody wants a meeting or if somebody requests a podcast, I don't know about it. She already knows what to do. If somebody asks her podcast, she's got a certain list of questions that she will ask. There will be some back and forth. It will be assessed. Does it fit my audience? Can we add value? What is the procedure? Is it in person? Is it video? Is it auditory? That all goes through. Then it's a set. If it's a team fit, it gets scheduled into my calendar. The first thing I know about it is I get a notification as part of my daily summit. Oh, we booked you in a podcast. Now, I already know it's gone through 4 or 5 different pre-qualifications without me even knowing about it. Why? Because I set it up. Why would I get involved in all that when it's standardized? Does that make sense? So that's what you want to do. Oh, how have I got time to do it? Spend one of your PPP meetings setting it up. Not rocket science, guys. So design yourself out of the fluff. Now we're going to talk tomorrow about how to outsource and some of the effective places to go and who I would recommend, etc., because it can be a minefield. But we've got some good resources for you maybe tomorrow evening when you leave here that I think can help anybody to be able to move forward on that. Okay, step 3. Make a list of only the 6 most important things. How many? 6. Can't hear you. How many? 6. One more time. 6. 6, not 60. How many list people in the house? Where are you, you listers, you? I can see you. All right, 2 hands up. Right, list people. Listen in. And I love you. Here's the problem with list people. Those people that make long, long, long lists are missing a fundamental truth about how the brain works. Right now, again, most people can feel overwhelmed. I've got all this stuff to do. I've got a whole load of shit down. Let me write it all down in a big list. Now, capture lists are different. But if we have that as our to-do list, I've got news for you. The brain is going to shift gears and it'll seduce you. You won't see it coming. It'll be a stealth hit out of nowhere. It is a ninja when it comes to this. And we sweep under the carpet by the reticular activating system. We're not even aware of what's happening. Here's the pattern. If you write a really long list, the emphasis unconsciously at that point switches from tackling, bless you, the most important things on the list that are the most productive to how do I reduce the list? And as soon as your focus shifts on how do I reduce the list, what's the first thing you tick off? The easiest thing to tick. Time management in the toilet. Yeah, if you start thinking that, oh look, I had 90 things on my list to do today, and I got rid of 80 of them. Yay! And the 10 things I didn't were the fucking things I should have done. Right? How many people know what I'm talking about? How many of you list people have actually thought of something that you've already done and then written it down so you can cross it off? I know where you are. Again, it's about seducing ourselves into thinking we're being productive when we're not. What are we being? Active. And there is a massive difference between being active, my friends, and being productive. You're all active. You've all got discipline. You're all confusing yourselves a lot of the time on thinking that we're moving forward on something when we're really on a hamster wheel to nowhere. So make a list of the 6, and we're going to run through a process shortly where we're going to go through this and make it real. Okay. Now, here's a top transformational tip. And again, this is a mind shift. We're going to do a few of those before we leave tonight. Use outcome focus. A better question to ask yourself is not, what have I got to do? Ask yourself, what is my outcome? Because once you start looking at it in terms of what is my outcome, your to-do list shifts. Because is it possible to have 3 things on your to-do list that relate to the same outcome, but you could probably achieve that outcome with 2 of them? You see, if your brain is focused on thinking that you're being productive by ticking stuff off, for a start, you're homing in on dead the wrong things because you're going for the fastest thing to tick to feel good about it. But more importantly, you're focusing on crossing stuff off rather than understanding the reason why you're crossing stuff off. Does that make sense? So, what is my outcome? What am I really trying to achieve here? And then you could probably start shifting. Because as soon as you get locked into a to-do mentality, that's it. Deaf, dumb, and blind. You're off chasing that rabbit, thinking that you're doing good. So ask yourself a better question. What's my outcome? Not what have I got to do? If you make that one distinction, it can completely shift the entire course of how you focus on planning your day. Is this useful? Cool stuff. Plan and allocate how much time you'll need to complete each task. We're going to run through this in a moment. No, this is not the amount of time that you're going to spend today, but how much in total on each of the lists. Yeah, and then you add up the amount of time, say it's 5 to 6 hours, and we do it for the 6 most important tasks. I'm going to show you how to do this and make it practical shortly. Then we plan the day and assign time slots for working on and accomplishing each task. We schedule the day in sections, allocate time on each in a manageable chunks, and stick to the plan. Be hard enough to respect your time and discipline yourself to live the system. And once the time for the task has expired, we save our file and move on. Again, I'll rush through this, guys, because we're going to do it for real in a second. You okay with that? Okay, and then focus on the difficult projects first. That is, you can't do that if you are to-do list focused. To-do list will focus on which tasks first? The easiest ones you can cross the hell off the list so you can feel good about it. Now, your mission as a master of time manager should be spend 80% of your time on the things that get results, not 20, the traditional approach is the 80-20 in the opposite direction. If you can shift that, you will dramatically shift the productivity of your business and your life. Hard, easy is what separates the masters. Most people that are not masters of this go for easy, hard. And they keep pushing off the hard, which is why it's still on the to-do list 3 weeks later, and your accountant's screaming at you to get your tax return done. Deadlines can be wonderful things. But if you start with the focus of hard, easy is the new easy to move my business forward, you can start shifting that mentality. Here's some quality questions. Would it hurt me to throw this away? At the end of the day, now, would it actually hurt you to throw this away? And a friend of mine that will not reply to the first email, automatically, bless you, automatically deleted. He says, well, that's rude. It works for him. Because most of the time, you're going to find out that if there was a catastrophic hard drive failure and your entire email account got vaporized and all of your backups happened to fail and your iCloud storage wasn't renewed last week and you didn't know and that had gone too, you're going to come to terms with a fundamental truth that most people won't believe until it happens, and that is this: the world will continue to spin. Right? It's not the end of the world. Most of us give way too much credence to the fact that, oh my God, I've got to respond to him and respond to this. And what's really running is a pattern of connection, a pattern of significance, a pattern of certainty. And it seduces us into all different aspects of our life. Another great question. What is the trade-off in storing and hoarding stuff you'll probably never refer to again? Any hoarders in the room? Don't get me started. And how much will what I'm about to do matter in 1, 5, or 10 years? Again, we're going to get to, and especially as we move forward into the later part of the workshop tomorrow, guys, we're going to start to get in touch with what really matters. Why are we here? What's the legacy and the mission we want to leave? What's it all for? Why are we building a business? Why do we want to go out and create $1 billion or do this, etc.? And is what I'm about to do here really going to matter on that level 5 years from now? Again, it's the don't sweat the small stuff.